There we go. Hear that one? No, I'm not
That was
cracking
nice.
open
That was
like
a
Ghost
nice.
was Friday.
Yeah.
Nice little Red Bull. This is where I'm at 5:48 on a Monday. Tuesday. I had off yesterday. This feels like a Monday to me. It's Tuesday. I'm feeling it, people. But you know what? You know what always is like a shot of Red Bull to me or a shot of energy? It's always talking with my man Ghost. It's first of all, happy Taco Tuesday. I know you're big.
Happy Taco Tuesday.
I know you celebrate this day.
Absolutely.
So happy Taco Tuesday. How you doing, man? I just asked that because you were a little perfect yesterday. A little bit.
I'm good. I mean, things were rolling yesterday. It was a great day. It was a great day.
I think you might want to hype that up a little bit more. Not just an okay day. You had a great day, man.
I think it went pretty well. I'd like to think that 4-0 at the book, 2 for 2 in home run calls.
Yep.
The DFS core combined for 200 points on DK.
Yep.
It was a great day, and we're gonna keep it rolling tonight. I like this slate. It's a little greasy, but I like it. There's some good spots here, and it's a day ending in Y with my favorite player in the NBA to get us kicked off. So.
DeJounte Murray,
Domantas Sabonis.
Is that where we're getting kicked off? You know what?
We're diving right into that one. So this slate,
let's get all into it.
I like it because. You don't have to wait till 10 p.m. to say, like, oh, my God, are the nerves going to kick in? Am I winning? Am I losing? Play the first game on the slate. You're going to know exactly that. And then you're going to end up winning money. And then you're just going to enter the late MLB slate because you're already winning in the main MLB slate on top of that.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's just
that sounds amazing.
Get the money coming in early. This is a spot. We play primary ball handlers versus LA every single night. And for some reason, Malcolm Brogdon is priced at 6,700. I don't have an explanation. I don't get it. Malcolm Brogdon, 6,700, should be like closer to 7,700, if not like between 77 and 87.
Why? Yeah. If you had to give any explanation, because I don't even know why it's that low. Like why?
I just have a feeling people haven't been playing them. Like, again, I don't know the way the pricing algorithm works with DK and FanDuel, but I would imagine that it has to do with how often somebody gets played and their scoring output, right? Like, if it was purely based on scoring output, it would all be wonky because then you wouldn't be able to make lineups properly. So
his last game, he had 62.8.
He almost just dropped a triple-double against Memphis. Like, he put up 29, 9, and 11. Like, I get it. It's a good matchup against Ja, but this is an even better one. It's an even better matchup for him. And his price came down.
It doesn't make any sense. I can't wrap my head around that. Yeah.
I don't get it.
So this is that a must play? When you see a mispricing like that, is that an automatic do it? Don't even think twice. Like, you have to.
Like, I'm not even thinking about it. If this burns me, I'm going to sleep like a baby because I will make this decision not even 99 times out of 100, 100 times out of 100. Malcolm Brogdon 6,700 in this good of a matchup. No Patrick Beverley for the Clippers. We automatically play primary ball handlers versus LA. Then on top of that, you have Miles Turner out on the Indiana side. So as if Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis didn't run the pick and roll enough already on offense, Miles Turner is now out of the equation. That is their entire offense. And then, okay, you're going to have Karis LeVert playing iso ball like when Brogdon comes off the court or for a couple possessions. LeVert's going to go one-on-one. You know what's going to happen when LeVert goes one-on-one? He's going up against Paul George. How long do you think that's going to last? Like, yes, exactly that. I don't know about Morris though. I wouldn't put like when you're talking about and
I love how you drew the line. It's like, all right, I'll go there.
Like when you're talking about and move on, it's like Yoshi Hammer. Like you got to do it. I will never put a Morris brother in a Yoshi Hammer type of situation. So, but that's exactly where I'm starting my lineup. So thank you, Glide, for not only paying attention to Discord, but also reading my article because it's exactly what I said. And I didn't write up a Sabonis blurb specifically for that reason. And I actually put it in the Karis LeVert blurb. I said there's a 99.9% chance that I'm starting my lineups with Brogdon, Sabonis, and Paul George is a lock. Kawhi's out, you play Paul George. I don't care how expensive he is, how low his price is, it's just automatic. Like, don't even think about it. You play Paul George. Then on top of that, you have a revenge narrative against Indiana, where this is a true revenge narrative. He left Indiana on a sour note. He felt as though they did not build the franchise around him properly and that they didn't surround him with talent, that they were not a franchise that was able to win. PG is going to go out there and ball out. He's got 3 straight games, 30-plus points. He's got over a 36% usage rate when Kawhi is out. and he's averaging close to a triple-double in those games. Like, this is just, it's a great spot for him. Malcolm Brogdon might end up going on him, but it's a size mismatch out there for PG. So I don't really think that's going to last all that long. I really do think they end up just sticking to that LeVert versus PG matchup, and LeVert's going to get bodied on the offensive end. Like, there's no chance that he's going to be able to guard Paul George tonight. So I'm writing out Paul George. If they even have a chance to win this game, which Vegas does think so, they're actually, forget about a tight spread. Clippers are favored in this game. So Paul George got to go out there and drop 30 for them to win this game. There's no other way. Who else is going to drop 30? Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson. That's like 10 years too late for Reggie Jackson to do that. Ivaka Zubac needs like a full week to drop 30 points.
Come on, look at that. Morris, he can do it, right?
Like he
finished with 33 points.
He's gonna be the number 2 option, but Morris is lining up on Sabonis. Good night, Jim Kite. It's not happening. So I'm playing Paul George. I'm playing Sabonis. I'm playing Malcolm Brogdon.
What about Batum?
I can't do it. Like, I don't know. I just, when I'm playing PG, I want PG to drop 60 tonight. I want PG to go nuclear. So, but if you are going with those, with those, surrounding players around PG, Reggie Jackson is still going to be the primary ball handler out there. I personally can't get behind him because of a matchup against Malcolm Brogdon. Like, Reggie Jackson is not that guy. Like, Luka Doncic has a hard time against Malcolm Brogdon, let alone a player of Reggie Jackson's stature, right? So is there a chance he goes off? Yeah, absolutely, especially if Malcolm Brogdon ends up switching on to Paul George. I just don't foresee that happening all game long, right? So I can't really get behind Reggie Jackson. In deep field GPPs, I'm okay with it. Morris is likely going to be the guy. Like, if there's ever a chance where they can get that matchup for Marcus Morris, it's going to be on the wing against Caris LeVert, but they're likely going to put LeVert on PG. So if you could get Morris on a Justin Holiday, on a Doug McDermott, then he's in good hands. I just personally paying $5K for Marcus Morris chasing last game. It's not really something that I plan on doing. But if your last guy into your lineup is Marcus Morris, I'm definitely not opposed to it. But that's my main 3 for every build tonight. It's Brogdon, it's Paul George, it's Sabonis, both sites, FanDuel and DraftKings. It's exactly where I'm going tonight. So
there's a lineup for you as well. Sabonis, PG-13, Bogdanovich, McDaniels, Kemba, Graham Favors. Yeah,
I like it. Only guy that I'm not behind is Kemba. I very rarely play Kemba when both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are in, and 29th ranked defense. Portland's really vulnerable on the wing. It literally fits beautifully for both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown tonight. I don't really want to play Kemba Walker against Dame in this spot.
So WinDailySports.com is where you can check out the Ghost Gems article, where I'm already taking a look at some of this stuff. And the interesting one here, and I put up DraftKings just because it would be a little bit difficult to keep switching back and forth between the two. But there is a pricing difference on FanDuel and DraftKings when it comes to maybe 2 of the top guys that you're going to have in that lineup. And it's 2 games that, as we're seeing here from Glide, that you might want to stack. And that's Trey Young and Damian Lillard. What's the price differences with them on DraftKings FanDuel? Because that might end up making the difference in who you're going to play, whichever one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it was something that when I opened up both sides, because that's the last thing that I do in my article, right? I always end up writing the prices at the very end because I don't want anything to influence me that way, right? So I always look at the game environments, pick some individual players, look up the usual stats that I look up, and then the prices are the very last thing that I write down in my article. And I actually added that sentence at the end, obviously, when I saw the prices. It really shocked me to see Damian Lillard being priced below Trey Young on FanDuel. Like, for me, it's, if you're playing on FanDuel tonight, it's pretty tough for me to get away from Damian Lillard in this spot against Boston. Only 8,800 over there. Dame is going to be my guy. But over on DraftKings, I'm okay taking the $400 savings and going with Trey Young, especially with the amount of injuries that Atlanta has in this one. Okay, Kyle Lowry's not playing in this one. So, yes, Atlanta, people could say, oh, Atlanta's going to blow them out. Toronto ends up winning these weird games where they're not favored and they're not expected to win. They're expected to lose by 6 or more, and they end up winning these games, and then they go about the next night and they lose to OKC when they're 14-point favorites, right? So it's just, that's the kind of season that they're having, and Atlanta is not a good enough team to be considered in any type of matchup where they're going to blow somebody out. Even if it was against the Pistons, Pistons cover the spread. That's the 7th highest rate in the entire NBA. So it's just, Atlanta's not that team that they can wipe the floor with anybody. So Trey Young going up against Toronto throughout his entire career, I get it. It's been a relatively short career for Trey Young, only been in the league a couple of years now, but he just owns Toronto. He constantly gets over 30 points per game, 10 assists. He's a walking double-double, 30-10. every single time that these guys take the court. And he's really taken on even more of a load on offense with both DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish out of the lineup. They've both been out for quite some time. Trey Young pick and roll with Clint Capella. Who on earth is guarding Clint Capella tonight in the paint? Like, good luck. I don't see under 15 rebounds for Clint Capella tonight. If he gets enough minutes, he's going to go over 20 for sure. So Trey Young, Clint Capella, that's a good combo to start with if you're not going with the Clippers-Indiana game. I would run it back with at least one Raptor on the other side, whether that's Malachi Flynn, who's likely getting the spot start for Kyle Lowry, whether that you're going all the way to the top and going Pascal Siakam. Gary Trent Jr. is going to take more shots now that Lowry's out. And we saw what he did from the field just a couple nights ago. So either way, I'm okay with stocking this game too. Just personally, I'm so invested in that Clippers-Indiana game that I pretty much only have one or two pieces from this one. I'm not full on stocking it.
Okay, so what about the other game as well? I know Boston, you do tend to stay away from a little bit just because of the pace. Is that also kind of the reason why? I mean, yeah, you're looking at maybe Damian Lillard, but it just seems like you're sticking really with Clippers and Indiana. And Boston, Portland, sure, maybe. Atlanta, Toronto, absolutely. Some even plays with, Toronto having so many injuries, especially to Van Fleet and Kyle Lowry. But it just seems like even though those two games can be a little bit juicy, you're just sticking mainly with Clippers, Indiana.
Yeah, the main reason why I'm not playing Portland, Boston, I don't even want to say not playing it, right? Like I have a couple guys here and there, but I'm not stocking that game in particular like I am the Clippers, Indiana game. Number one is just because the players in LA and Indy are severely underpriced, right? So we're talking about an $8,800 Domantas Sabonis. You're going to say, how is he underpriced? Guy's averaging a triple-double with Miles Turner out of the lineup. I don't know what else to say. Like he's averaging a triple-double. It's just you can't put it into words. Like he's just a beast out there, right? So going up against the Clippers, who now with no Serge Ibaka, they're seriously lacking some interior defense, which they thought they had locked down in the offseason. They thought with Kawhi, with Serge Ibaka, with even Zubac picking up some defensive play. Well, Zubac sucks on D. Kawhi's out, and so is Serge Ibaka. So that quickly went down the drain, right? So all of a sudden you get Sabonis eating on the inside, and then you have Malcolm Brogdon who's underpriced by like $2,000. So it's just, for me, it's an easy stock because I'm locking Paul George no matter what when Kawhi's out of the lineup. And it's just, it ends up being that game environment where it's my go-to. And then you're kind of saying, okay, like you end up talking to yourself and you're like, all right, let me see if I can make an argument for Boston versus Portland. It's a good pace-up spot for Boston, but this team does not have the offensive power to be able to get into a run-and-gun game with the Portland offense. They just added Norman Powell to the fold. Okay, as a Raptors fan, I'm happy with what Gary Trent is doing, but Norm is still an upgrade based on what they both bring to the table. They're both 3-and-D wings that really contribute on offense. They take a lot of shots. Norm is the better fit for Portland than Gary Trent was, right? So they have an upgrade on the wing there. You talk about their backcourt, who is probably top 5 in the entire NBA with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. You look at what Enes Kanter is able to do off the bench, and when he gets a spot start for Nurkic, he goes out there and drops 30 and 30. So you end up getting 20 minutes of Enes Kanter, 20 minutes of Josef Nurkic. Robert Covington's going to go out there, and is he the most offensive player? No, absolutely not, but he knows his role. He knows that he's got to key in on one guy, whether that's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown tonight, and really take them out of the offense, right? So for me, it's just Boston can't be able to get into that run-and-gun game because when we're talking about all the offensive weapons that Portland has, when you look at Boston, I don't consider Kemba Walker a real offensive threat anymore. And then you have Jaylen Brown, you have Jason Tatum. Both are two of my favorite guys to watch. Jaylen Brown's having a career year, rightfully got into the NBA All-Star game for the first time in his career. Marcus Smart is more that defensive player. He's been like that since he came out of Oklahoma State. Kemba Walker is just in the latter stages of his career. And Robert Williams can do work, but again, he's not really that offensive guy that can take over a game in the paint, right? So you're really looking at two guys versus a very deep Portland offense now, where if Boston gets into that run and gun game, they're going to be down by 20 at half. So they're probably going to slow it down. They're going to want to take every possession, play it tight on D, run a clean cut offense. And for me, that's not a stackable game environment when we're talking about, who's going to go off for the entire game. This is not a game environment that I'm looking at altogether.
So here's the lineup right here. Before we get to that, Trey Young is a game time decision. So what if Trey Young, let's just do it for the sake of, covering all angles here. If Trey Young, for some reason, is ruled out, he's a game time decision. That was just reported, I think, on Fantasy Labs that they just had that one. So if he ends up not playing, what would be the changes to your lineup?
I would likely just remove one value piece. We're going to talk about that probably to end the show. There's one game that I want to talk about. I'm not playing Miami Phoenix. I'll just get that out of the way right now. It's a really competitive game. It's going to be really slow. I'm not playing that game at all. If you want to play Jimmy Butler, I wrote him up. That's okay, because at a very weak small forward position, there's no player that has the floor and ceiling combination that Jimmy Butler has every single night. Especially with Victor Oladipo, he's got to take more chances on offense too. So if you want to play Jimmy Butler or Chris Paul or Devin Booker, those are three guys that I'm interested in on every single night, but not in this type of matchup. And OKC, Utah. If you want to play Donovan Mitchell, I'm okay with it. More so on FanDuel, where you have to play two shooting guards, because on DraftKings, I don't really see the point when you need to lock in Paul George there. And Utah is still a massive favorite, even without Joe Ingles, without Jordan Clarkson. It's just, for me, speaking like trying to put myself in the shoes of the GM or the coach, whoever made the decision to sit out Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson and Royce O'Neal, that I don't feel like they're going to run Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert into the ground to beat a rebuilding OKC team when they just lost to Washington last night. Like, I think they realize that, they need to ramp up for the playoffs here, and they have some serious matchups coming up that'll dictate some seeding. So I don't really think they're prioritized too much about this game. I think they're able to win it, with Mike Conley on the floor for 30 minutes instead of Donovan Mitchell playing 36, for example. So that's enough for me to come off Mitchell on DraftKings. On FanDuel, because of the amount of value that's on the slate, I'll just take the raw points of Donovan Mitchell and pair him with Paul George. If you're not playing Devontae Graham, a hint at what's the next game we're going to talk about. But if you end up going, the double shooting guard over there on FanDuel and you pay all the way up, I'm okay with it. Even a guy like Boyan, like, he's somebody that'll likely get 30 minutes tonight, because although they're all crucial pieces to this team, right? Like that's the key to Utah's success this season, is that, other than Donovan Mitchell, they don't have that one guy that can really take over a game. I love Rudy Gobert's game, probably defensive player of the year, or at least top 3 in consideration every single year. But he's not somebody that's going to go out there and drop 30-30.
Defensive player of the year is, come on, man. It's not Rudy Gobert.
Okay, well, we'll say same player that's winning MVP. Same player that's winning MVP then.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll go there, and then that's for Joel Embiid, for whoever didn't know that John's out there in Philly, and he's a big Philly guy. So I always got to mention Philly sports no matter what.
I'm definitely not a Philly guy. I don't know what you're talking about.
So anybody that roots for the Phillies has to be a Philly guy. Like, that's just that takes some serious dedication to end up putting yourself through that pain to cheer for the Phillies.
Oh, come on, man. That's too far. But we got a lot
into it. I had to. But here I am. My teams aren't even in the country anymore. So if there's anybody going through pain right now, we're not even in the country anymore. So I feel you. It's okay.
So we got a lineup here: Brogdon, Sabonis, PG-13, Morris.
Yeah,
there seems to be a lot of Morris, but you can't do it.
So that's the thing. It's like I'm okay with it. It's not something that I'm completely opposed against, but he's not somebody that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need Marcus Morris in my lineup tonight. Like, say that out loud, and then realize what you're saying, and then it's like, okay, no, that doesn't make sense, right? So it's like, look, he's gonna get there at only 5K, 5.4 on FanDuel, where you have to roster 2 power forwards, which the position is, wow, it's really something. Like, if you're, if whatever you do, don't look at the power forward position after you eat tonight. You're gonna get sick. Like, it's really, really bad on FanDuel. So it's something where, if he's your power forward 2, or on DraftKings he's the last guy into your lineup, I'm okay with it. Just don't look at that last game log. If tonight he puts up 25 and he goes a cool 5 times his value, don't say like, oh my God, why didn't he drop 40 like he did last night? Like, Marcus Morris dropping 33 points in a game, it usually takes him a week to drop 33 points. So like, it's something that, we have to be cautious a little bit. But again, if he's the last guy in, I'm okay with it. Just be careful, because we're seeing it on the Pyre on the show already. There's the amount of people that are playing Marcus Morris tonight. At that ownership, think about where you have to get different in your lineups, rather than, saying like, oh, I don't want to play Sabonis or Brogdon or Paul George. Like, I'll use the Paul George example. Same team, completely different salaries. I get that, but they're probably coming in roughly around the same ownership level. The amount of people that are going to play Paul George is likely going to be around the same as Marcus Morris. So yes, okay, it's not fair to compare the 2 players, 2 different prices, 2 different skill sets. But at the same time, it's like, would I rather take Paul George out of my lineup to get different, or would I rather take out Marcus Morris? Like that's where, when you're talking about getting different to jump thousands of people at a time, you got to jump over all these lineups that have Marcus Morris. I rather take that chance where I'm either slightly behind them with a player in a later game, or maybe I'm ahead of them because of somebody that I played in the 7:30 Atlanta Toronto game, but most likely it's going to be somebody in the later game. If I'm looking up at somebody and the only difference between my lineups is that I have somebody else and they have Marcus Morris, I'm not as scared as I have somebody else and they have Paul George. That's something that it's going to be a bigger gap to climb, right? So when we're talking about getting different, having that 1 to 2 players to jump thousands and thousands of people at a time and get towards the top of the leaderboard, for me, the spot to get different tonight in these large field contests is not playing Marcus Morris. But if you're playing single entry, I'm okay with it. He has a safe floor. He's the number 2 option on offense. But when we're talking about a very chalky Marcus Morris, say that out loud and tell me it doesn't scare you.
Yeah, that definitely should. WinDailySports.com, WinDailySports.com/chat is where you can join the Discord. Go to our website. We have plenty of, the NBA slate's about to get started soon, but Major League Baseball, the main slate is NHL, nice little medium-sized 6-game slate tonight. So plenty of that for you. And even though the Masters is already done, we already have RBC Heritage stuff going on. And that will be 8 o'clock. So in a couple of hours, tune back in here to either YouTube or the WinDailySports.com page or at WinDailySports on Twitter. And you can check out the RBC Heritage PGA live stream with Sia Najad, Draftmaster Flex, and Sticks Picks. That'll be at 8 o'clock here at Win Daily. Okay, so the last game you mentioned that you want to talk about, I have a feeling we're going with Lakers Charlotte. Was that where you're going here?
Yeah, just look like for those that are watching right now. I
look
hope
at
everybody
this.
gets that.
I
really hope everybody gets to like actually watch the video, because you end up seeing our facial reactions, and I feel like that's the best part of the show. Other than interacting with the chat, that's by far the best part of the show. But nothing can compare to that.
Look at all
these
names.
Our facial expressions are just like, take a look at this right now.
From 9,600 to 6,500. It's
there
just
is no
all out.
Okay, so we're looking at the Lakers. LeBron, AD still out, right? That's just, we're used to it at this point. You're looking at the Hornets side. LaMelo Ball done for the season. Gordon Hayward, he's done for a while. Terry Rozier is doubtful. I'm gonna already put him as out. We've had him out since noon, so we had him out even before he came out as doubtful. So it's just, I've had Terry Rozier out for a long time. So you're looking at no Rozier, no Hayward, no LaMelo Ball. We scroll down a little bit. There's no PJ Washington either. And there's no Malik Monk. We're talking about 5 out of their starting. I know you only start 5 players, but when I say starting 6, I mean including the 6th man. 5 out of their top 6 options are out. This is
unbelievable.
This is value city in this game. So I think a lot of people are going to end up playing Devontae Graham. I'm okay with it, especially in cash games. Like, you need to play Devontae Graham or Miles Bridges. Personally, I side with Miles Bridges. He's just been balling out. Absolutely baptized Clint Capella the other night. Wow. If you haven't seen that dunk, make sure you guys go and check that out. Miles Bridges dunk on Clint Capella. That was
amazing. Hopefully everybody's seen that yet. If you haven't, then I'm going to be concerned. Yeah.
That was really, really something. So Miles Bridges has been playing really well. He's attacking the hoop, as you've seen that video if you haven't watched it. Other than that, you can go to Jaylen McDaniels. I'm okay with McDaniels. Obviously, he's been balling out. 6K on FanDuel is a bit much. I'm not going to go there on 6K. But at 4,300, it's very tough for me not to play Jaylen McDaniels. You can even play Cody Zeller in a spot like this, where typically I shy away from Charlotte centers because they end up moving PJ Washington to the 5 and end up going smaller with either Miles Bridges coming into the lineup when Gordon Hayward's in and all that stuff, right? So, or Malik Monk comes in when he's actually healthy and everyone's healthy. But again, this is a spot tonight where they're going to end up having to play true centers in Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, right? So Cody Zeller ends up getting a bump at 4,800. Andre Drummond's been getting into some foul trouble too, and he's actually questionable on the other side. So if Andre Drummond ends up sitting out, Cody Zeller gets Montrezl Harrell defense, or lack thereof, I should say. Montrezl Harrell does not play defense. So it is a good spot for him. So I'm okay with Cody Zeller, Jaylen McDaniels. Personally, one guy that makes me nauseous, as I'm about to say his name, is Brad Wannamaker, but at 3,800, he's definitely in play. Even at 46 on FanDuel, he's definitely in play as well. He'll end up falling into 20 points, right? So at that point, if you're looking for some value, you could definitely do worse than Brad Wannamaker. Just again, already making myself nauseous as I'm saying his name because he's just I can't stand playing this guy. So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get there tonight, but in cash games you need to play him. That's for sure. You need at least 3 Hornets in cash tonight, at least. So you need the guy that makes me nauseous. You need Jaylen McDaniels and either Devontae Graham or Miles Bridges, one of the two. Or if you end up losing Jaylen McDaniels and going Graham and Bridges, I'm okay with that too. Just I'd rather not invest too much salary into Charlotte because if this game blows out, they're not going to run Devontae Graham into the ground. So I'm really looking at this game for value.
Not to go.
Yeah, that's it. I'm really looking to this game for value because if Charlotte ends up playing, oh my God, I'm literally going to get sick saying this many times. But if Charlotte ends up playing Brad Wannamaker 36 minutes tonight, no disrespect to Brad Wannamaker, but they don't care. Like that he's not going to be in the playoff rotation very much, if at all, right? So we're talking about a backcourt that's going to be Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Malik Monk. I wish LaMelo Ball was there for this playoff run that they're about to make, but he's not. So it's going to be those main three, right? It's going to be Graham, Rozier, and Malik Monk in that backcourt, right? So I don't really think that Charlotte's really preoccupied about running a lot of these guys into the ground tonight. So be a little cautious with Devontae Graham and Miles Bridges. In cash, you can do it. In GBP, I'm not afraid to, fade both of them and end up just scooping up all the value. The Zellers, the McDaniels, the Wannamakers, and the Martin brothers. I forgot to mention the Martin brothers as well, Caleb and Cody Martin. These are two guys that, at the stone cold minimum on DraftKings, they can get there, and both of them can get hot from deep. So have a look at the starting lineup. I highly recommend backloading your lineup when it comes to this game specifically, because you're going to want to make changes based on who's starting and who's not, specifically thinking about Brad Wannamaker and the Martin brothers as well. So if you end up putting Brogdon in your point guard spot, with Paul George in your shooting guard spot and Sabonis either at power forward or center, depending on if you're playing Cody Zeller or not, that's where I would start. And then, use the guard spot, the forward spot, the utility spot for a little bit more Charlotte value. Don't overdo it either, but, make sure that you have those guys in the later stages of your lineup. That way, when the starting lineup comes out, you're ready to pivot at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I'll just highlight those 3-4 games. This is where you're likely going to get all of your action from, and most of it, when you take these two out, going to be coming from these two. And your top play, if it is Trey Young, obviously that is going to be now down to and determined by whether or not he actually plays today. Terry Rozier is officially ruled out, so he's done. So everything that you were saying about the Hornets holds true. But I think that's a good place to stop. If you want more, because we got to make sure when the lineups come in who's starting, and then also we got to make sure if Trey Young is going to play. So we have to figure all those things out, and you can do it. Go to the windailysports.com/chat, join the Discord, and you'll be able to get some of these late plays and, late movement, whether depending on who's starting or not, from Ghost and others in the chat. So do that. windailysports.com is where you can check it out. We'll be back tomorrow, NBA DFS preview, but coming up 8 o'clock. Do not forget RBC Heritage Preview, Sinajad, Draft Master Flex, and Sticks Picks coming off of a really fun Masters, and they'll be back at it covering the RBC Heritage with all of your DFS and betting plays. That's it for the NBA DFS Preview. We'll be back tomorrow. Good luck tonight. WindailySports.com.